For Mishaun Jackson, entrepreneurship wasn't just about starting a business, but about reclaiming her power. After decades of excelling in executive leadership within the healthcare industry, she realized that the glass ceiling wasn't just a barrier. It was a system designed to inbox women of color. Instead of continuing to fight an uphill battle within corporate structures, she created her path where women, especially Black women, could rise, lead, and build their own legacies. With Miss with Women of Wisdom Solutions, Mishaun equips women with leadership skills, business acumen, and confidence to break through limitations. Through House of Shaun, she continues to elevate her work in leadership and consulting. In this conversation, she shares how she transitioned from corporate to entrepreneurship, the lessons she's learned along the way, and the advice for Black women striving to own their success. Good morning. Good morning.
Good
How are you?
morning. I'm well, Robin. How are you today?
I'm good. Patient with me this morning, but I'm so glad that you took the time to join us.
I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak with you, especially about, Black women, women of color, and having the opportunity to highlight and shine the necessary need that we have, the necessity that we have in the world to hear from other women in leadership, women, entrepreneurs, business women, so that other women out there really know that they can excel, they can succeed, and they can too break the barriers that they face each and every day.
Okay. So I hear that you've had about 30 years in corporate leadership, even reaching
Actually,
the executive level.
yes, 30 years. I know it's actually over 30 years, but I'm trying to cap it at 30. 30
Okay.
years in healthcare. I'm actually a nurse for over 25 years, 26 years actually, and 30 years in healthcare. And I've, worked diligently hard to reach, that top level of executive and thinking that that would make a difference. But what I realized, it opened my eyes completely to see that it was even more, more shocking and difficult to see what, as a woman of color in a leadership executive position in a healthcare, what I would still face even at that level.
What were some of the significant barriers that you faced?
You know, you still face discrimination, you face biasness and feminism, against feminism. The challenges that I specifically face, I'm giving an example of that you still have to work twice as hard and work, even harder, longer hours. And whenever I speak, people automatically, certain individuals would respond like as if I was being aggressive and I was merely just speaking and talking. And it's the way that any individual of colors, but specifically women of color, that it would be, regardless if you're a physician, an executive, being able to, yes, we could run the business, we can take care of patients, and we could manage, hundred multi-million dollar, budget. But whenever we would speak, especially if it was against or a different opinion of someone else's, it would be, arms would go up and people would be aghast at how dare we, speak, how dare, that aggression. And I would just be in shock, like, I'm not angry, I'm not, I'm not aggressive. But that would, continue no matter what the setting, even in the boardroom. But my counterpart, the non-minority individual, could get up, yell, and even throw something across the room, and they would act as if it didn't even occur. So those challenges every single day, and I started to try to mentor the upcoming women who wanted to be in leadership to really prepare them for that. So that's really how I got started with the coaching and mentoring while I was in those roles, to try to prepare them for what they could expect.
So I hear you saying that because of the things that you faced in the corporate boardrooms, you've decided that now that you want to limit those situations for women of color and you've started your business. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
So in the early days of launching one of your businesses, because you have two, uh, Women of Wisdom Solutions, what were some of the first steps you took to bring your vision to life?
That one was I began to be really passionate about, even though that came after House of Shaun.
Okay.
Woman of Wisdom Solutions really came about simply because, I wanted to provide this purpose, and as from a spiritual, connection, that I kept feeling like I was compelled to do more than what I was doing. But I also realized that I couldn't do it as long as I was still in the executive, role, still in that healthcare arena, which took 80-90% of my time. I mean, I would work
Okay.
70, 80 hours in that job alone. So it really didn't allow me to really focus more on helping the masses that I wanted to do. And so God really gave me a vision that He kept putting pressure for me to leave. And I was fighting one. I'm like, I didn't want to leave because that was comfort. Even though I
Mhm.
was dealing with those things, you become very, security. But it was one of my mentors, an executive coach herself, an entrepreneur, who really put this on me. And it was like after I had the dream and the vision, then she spoke this into me, and she said that me holding back and not speaking up and not doing something that God has given me to do that could help someone else, that I was being selfish. That me not sharing my story would be selfish of me, and not to speak up about it. And that just literally gave me chills, like it does right now. And I just said, that is exactly what I needed to hear. And so that's how Woman of Wisdom Solutions, was developed. And it is sort of a combination of, expertise, my nursing and healthcare background, but, I use that in consulting and coaching. I'm also a certified coach, but being a woman, minority woman, combining all of that experience, that expertise, and everything I learned along the way, my education, I sort of morphed into that Woman of Wisdom Solutions, and that's how that morphed. Uh, House of Shaun actually came about because I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I started to devote my time volunteering with Girls Inc. and safe haven shelters and things like that for women, helping,
Okay.
donating suits and shoes, and helping women learn how to do their resumes, showing them some interview tips on how to get interviewed, um, the ins and out of healthcare, how to get started in nursing if that's what they were, choosing to do, and started giving out self-defense items, like
Mhm.
pepper spray and different things
Mhm.
like that. And it was really one of my clients that I actually worked with her and her daughter, who were both suffered through domestic abuse, who encouraged me to, there's like, you should sell these things, and so House of Shaun sort of morphed out of part of self-defense and safety for women, selling, the products, but also tying it with self-defense, giving them tools, tips, on how to do it safely, who to contact, how to contact it, how to prepare,
Okay.
sort of in the background, and really work with agencies to help them in a way that would help them out of that situation, if you will,
Mhm.
safely, without the person, the abuser, knowing, and helping them be prepared and be safe.
Oh, I understand, and I applaud you for stepping forward. And I know that some people are afraid to get in somebody else's business. So we definitely need an environment where we feel safe and people hear us, not just the want, but being a woman of color, helping other women of color, it seems like there's a connection there. So I praise
It
God
is
that you are
so,
there.
I used to be afraid to speak up. I didn't want people to know. And I especially didn't want people to know because when you're in my kind of role that I was in, when you're in a leadership role, when you're in an executive role, you know, it I was afraid of what people would think, how it was going to affect my job, and it did. When I had to get a restraining order, I had to let my employer know, um, and they started treating me different, and not in a good way, in a protective way. And we're going to try to use this, in a way to manipulate, control, and basically uh, psychologically abuse me in the workplace. And I had previously shined away from speaking on it. But again, I had another woman who went through something similar and almost lost her life, and she became such a advocate in coming out with it, and she's an attorney, and she really inspired me not to hold my secret, even though I was doing this and helping develop programs and behind the scenes, doing all the stuff behind the scenes without being willing to share my own story. And so sharing my own story also empowers me to help so many other women who are also maybe in a professional role and refuse to leave or refuse to say something or speak up because of the stigma. And when I learned that 80% of women who are abused in a relationship, 80% of them are also abused in the workplace at the
Mm,
so there's dual abuse because, they tend to, even though they might be a professional, and I'm talking about doctors, psychologists, CEOs, women in top positions who are suffering from abuse, and they did, what, like I did, masking it and hiding it. But by speaking out now, and by sharing this story, my hope and my goal is to continue to help not only just those women who we probably know or expect to be in a situation, or have been in a situation, if you will, but those who are also still hiding behind it. And I want to help them by speaking about it.
okay. Thank God for you. But at the same time, you have two businesses. How
Yes.
are you managing your time effectively without burning out?
Well, I realized when I was in the after I left the executive role, that I was burnt out doing that. I mean, I
Okay.
truly was at 70, 80 hours a week. I mean, I lived and breathed that job. When you have 24/7 responsibility for a hospital, and you're responsible literally 24/7, and they can call you at any and every time. A lot of people don't realize that, but chief nurse executives, you're literally responsible for everything that happens. You know, I didn't realize because I put in so much time that I was, truly burning out. But where I got my energy was when I was able to help and coach and mentor, someone on the side,
Okay.
and that energy would come. So even though it is very busy, it is very busy. Doing two companies, running two businesses, it's
Mhm.
been refreshing. It helps replenish, my soul. But I still take time for myself. I'm an advocate of it now. I focus on self care because I didn't really take care of myself when I was in that role. I would tell my clients to make sure they took care of themselves. So now I focus on self care. And so even at the point to where I get up at 4 a.m. every morning to spend time with God and praise, and just meditate. That's also part of my self care. But now I live by my calendar. Um, I block and I schedule time in there to make sure that every day I spend time doing some self care, and whether it's journaling, which helped me last year write my first book, and publish it, and now I'm on my second book, and but that's been therapeutic for me. I have grandchildren. They're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, so I spend time to visit them and spend time with them. Um, but you have to do that. The best part of being a business owner, especially my businesses, I'm able to move and be able to still work. I can take this on the
Mhm.
road with me, wherever I go, especially now with technology.
What are some of the most common challenges that Black women face in stepping into those leadership roles or into being an entrepreneur altogether? Because you got to know that there is a fear of leaving, because I heard you say that fear of leaving the job that you're comfortable with, that regular 9 to 5, and going into entrepreneurship, where your faith and the confirmation from somebody else help nudge you along.
Yeah,
Some women don't have that. And
yeah.
so, what would you say would be good for them to help them make that decision or that transition from a 9 to 5 to now leadership in the entrepreneur arena?
You know, the fear is the biggest thing that holds us back. Because you even in when they're in a situation that they're not happy with, they're not happy, at the job, or a situation where they want to, get into a leadership position, but they get the resistance, they get the talking down, or that you're not good enough, stigma that they try to put us in. And one of the things that I try to encourage, other minority women to do is to really, while you're in that job, doesn't mean that you can't start on your business, but do it small, do it in small increments. Start out with your vision, right? Do your vision board. I give out every year free vision boards, planners, and career guides.
Okay.
I even give to my clients, I give them faith over fear, bling t-shirts, as motivation and momentum. And then I help them actually create their own career planner. And I share it with them, and it's not concrete. It's a rolling strategy plan, meaning that it ebbs and flows with what's going on within your life. But you're going to take one small piece of it, even if it's okay, what is going to be the name of what it is that you're going to do, or what is the position that it is that you want to do. Many of my clients want to go back to school, and they ask, should I do this or should I do that? I work with them, in planning that, where it you
Okay.
break it down into easy, small, bite-sized steps that they can take. The key is to take the step, to take each step, but you can do it in your own speed. You do it in your own path, because time is going to come and go no matter what. And this is what I tell them. So at least spend some time doing one small step. And that's really is the key. And to know that failure is part of the process.
Mhm.
It's not in spite of, but failure is part of the process. It helps with your success. Now you know all the thousand ways that doesn't work, but it
Not to
leads you
see.
to the one way that does work. And I
Yeah.
also would say that they should reach out and seek, others support. Get a coach, that can help coach them and mentor them. Attend some of these wonderful women seminars, or minority seminars, and conferences that could also give them and guide them through the steps. There's so many avenues out there for us, but we don't know if unless we start taking that first step and start seeking and getting the help and support that's needed. And even a coach, and I'm a coach, needs a coach. And so, a doctor needs a doctor,
Mhm.
so, and no matter what role you're in, you can always need that help, that support, that guidance.
Yeah. We definitely have to invest in ourselves because if nobody else does it,
No one.
it's not happening. But what are some of the overlooked skills that women need to master to be a success in leadership and entrepreneur? I mean, because there's a lot of little things, but what do we need to
Yes.
master to be good at what we do?
One of the things that no one really tells you or talks about um, until you've had those ups and downs. And I have many degrees and all of that, and I'm not even talking about that credentials, but this is something that a person could do, themselves, and it's really is mastering and working on your personal brand.
Okay. Okay.
And with that comes self-awareness.
Okay.
And it's the thing that we probably shy away from the most because you don't want a mirror, shining in your face, showing you all the flaws and all the things that you need to work on, including how you speak, how we present ourselves. Um, and it's not to change who you are, but it's to really hone in on what is the message, what is your brand that you're trying to promote and sell, what is it that you want to do, and you have to make sure that you're aligned with that. And many times that's not the case. I had a client who's also a very good friend who continued to say, I don't know what I'm doing wrong,
Mhm.
why I'm not getting, the success and the clients and, where she wants to be. And I really sat down with her and I said, this is going to be, a tough conversation. I'm going to talk to you like a client, not my friend. And I
Mhm.
said, because, Coach Mimi brings the real talk. I don't, mask it. I don't hide it. I'm gonna talk the realness. And I shared with her that, it is what she's doing and tying her personal with her professional. But she's posting it out and she's putting all this like she's a party girl out there. Nobody will take her seriously as a professional, that she's sharing this side of her that made that not only made but really it was doing damage to um her goals as being this businesswoman. And when she realized that and started to change what she puts out there instead of the party girl and all of those things, and watching the words and things that she says, looking at her image, then she started to see how things started to turn around for her professionally.
That sounds like you're saying that I shouldn't have my personal business on my business page, like they shouldn't be connected because things that I may say with my family and friends may not be appropriate for the image that I'm trying to portray in my business world. And sometimes we
Sometimes,
forget, we try to be so personable in
yeah.
our on our business side that those things overlap. So is that something that
I
you're
really do. I
saying?
think, unless they align, because there's some women and individuals out there that, who and what they are personally is their brand and what they're promoting. There's a lot of people on the creative side, that works exceptionally well for them,
Mhm.
right? But it matches, their business and what they're doing personally, it matches. So that works. But if you're trying to do a business and trying to attract a certain clientele, it does matter that,
Mhm.
your personal brand, has to match what you're putting out there for business sake. And regardless of what we may think right or wrong, it is what and how people respond, and when you're talking about business, business is business. And one of the things that I used to try to tell my my nursing students and my fellow nurses is that in nursing, and a lot of people don't know this, in nursing, especially in California, and I believe in Texas and some other states, but I know in nursing just in general at the national level, for nurses in our nursing ethics, our code of conduct, and our nursing practice act, it talks about, there's a little language in there about what we do in our personal life, how it affects our professional life, how it can affect our license. And so, I studied and became an expert at nursing in that. And
Mhm.
I used to share that with them, because it can affect their license. It can affect their profession. So it's so important to think about that, what it is that you want to do in business or your profession, and to make sure. And it doesn't mean that you still can't, when you're with your family, do what you want to do, but you got to be, keep in mind that that image it does become everything when you're trying to become a leader or do business. And these days, if you're employed, specifically, they go on social media looking at what you have out there. I
They
mean,
sure do.
when I was in that arena, they used to tell me that all the time. They would Google me and look me up, and all kinds of things, to see what who and what I was out there. It's a good thing that I wasn't.
You had a clean background.
Right.
You talked about doctors needing doctors and coaches needing coaches. Talk to me a little bit about um, a pivotal moment between you and your mentor, your support system. How does that play into your journey? What was the best piece of advice one of them has given you that you'd like to share with other Black women?
I would tell you, I've had coaches and mentors, or for the last 10 years, but even before then, the biggest mirror, the biggest, supporter, but also, who talked to me just as straight and narrow, and who would pray for me and pray with me, was my grandmother. And she always knew, she always had the faith and belief in me, what I was going to do and who I was going to be, bigger than what I ever thought. She used to, she instilled that in me at a very young age.
Mhm.
Um, and I used to fight against what she was just like, I'm not about to do that. She was like, you're going to minister to so many people. You're going to help so many people. And I was like, no, no, grandma, no, my dear. Mm-mm. That's not for me. That's for y'all.
Like I didn't hear that calling.
Right? I didn't hear it. But when you're young, you don't really know. But I didn't realize that you can truly minister to people in many different ways.
Mhm.
But what she told me, and it's the piece of advice that has helped me, it helped me in healthcare and nursing and what I'm doing now. And I actually share this with my clients and other women. Um, but she used to make me look at myself in the mirror,
Mhm.
and she's like, no matter whatever's going on, she used to tell me to be bold, be brave, and be beautiful.
Mm.
And each of those have different meanings, depending on the situation and depending on my mood.
Mhm.
But they still are valid. To be bold, meaning no matter what the world tells me, no matter what any the naysayers say, that I'm going to be bold enough and I'm going to be brave enough. And the beautiful part wasn't, the external part that she was referring to.
Mhm.
She was talking about, be beautiful, as much on the inside as you do on the outside. And as long as you carry that beauty and with you, you stand a certain way, you behave
Mhm.
a certain way. And that's what she was referencing. So I take that to heart, and it's become part of me, and is what I truly share. And that's the advice not only that she shared, but my coach sort of shared the same sentiment 2 years ago, with me when I was having a crossroads at, dealing with the psychological abuse in the workplace as an
Mhm.
executive. And she shared with me, um, back, to remind me. She was just like, well, show them who you are. Don't let them, take you out of character. Don't
Mhm.
let them, create scenarios that you forget who you are. And so for me, though, that's the same advice sort of that my grandmother gave me.
Mhm.
Don't let anyone else take you out of your lane, out of character.
Mhm.
Even though it may be hard and some people will test you, you know. Another piece of advice, sit on your hands. because I don't know if about you, but I talk with my hands. So so my grandma used to tell me, sit on your hands, meaning hold it together, keep it in line, stay in character, no matter what.
That's good word. That's good word for sure.
Because
So,
people will test you. People will test you.
So how do you want your work to impact the next generation of Black women entrepreneurs?
I really want what I do to help, so many people, so many women out there, but not just for them, but even the next generation from them, their kids and so forth. I want the nuggets and the information that I can help, provide them, the coaching, the mentoring, the guidance on how to excel, the tips and tricks that that I try to give. I
Mhm.
want to be able to help them and mold them in a way that's positive for them, to help them not only feel like they can propel forward. I
Mhm.
want to use that, and this is, something that I focus on quite a bit, and I speak on quite often, is how to turn that pain into power. Because many of
Absolutely.
us suffer, or are suffering. We suffer in silence, or even suffer in public. But that pain sometimes is what also hinders us and holds us back. So
Absolutely.
I talk about how to take that pain, no matter where it started or where it came from, but how to use that as fuel to propel us forward.
Yes,
To
yes.
use it as the power, to take that next step, to help raise us up and achieve that goal. That's what we need to do, and that's what I hope that the other generation knows, that what they have to offer is unique to them,
Absolutely.
and that there is room, if nothing else. Oh my goodness, because this happened this weekend, a conversation that I had at an event. There is room for all of us.
Mhm.
We don't have to be jealous of the next woman, even if they're doing something what we're doing. We each have a uniqueness to ourselves, but we need to embrace each other. We don't have to tear each other down. We don't have to tear each other down. There's room for all of us. And my job is to help my sister.
Yep.
You know, it's not to be closed mouth, it's to, open up and share so that they can be just as successful. And there's room
What
for all of us. There's room
they
for all
call
of
us.
us.
They call them gatekeepers. So it's not
Yes.
to be one.
No, our role and our job, and I believe this is, and for 2025, that has been the focus, is the women empowerment revolution. That those of us who are empowered and have a voice or have, knowledge, we are empowered and we are compelled to share that and spread that with other women, so they too can be empowered, so they too can be transformed, so that they
Absolutely.
can do it, and pass it on. you know,
Absolutely.
do one, teach one, and
One
then
teach one.
yes,
Mhm.
you
Absolutely.
keep it going. So that's what I hope to accomplish.
So in 5 years, you've got Women of Wisdom Solutions and House of Shaun. Where will they be in five? Where will you be in 5 years?
In 5 years, I'm really hoping to do more broadly, not just even nationally, even internationally,
Mhm.
and to partner with other individuals, counties, the states, even government, even to really connect. And I plan to probably transition Woman of Solutions into a nonprofit, because what I want to do is expand my reach to help women um, be able to defend themselves, not just from the physical violence, but from the psychological abuse, in a way that helps get them the information, the education, the training, the skills that they need to stand on their own. And so I'm hoping that and looking to expand that, in the next 5 years. I'm working on it now, but have a meetup with Los Angeles County, so that will probably where I will start. It will be in LA County. I'm working with the
Okay.
LA County with an attorney there who has done great work already, and has been even acknowledged and spoke at the White House, but also with the Chamber of Commerce for LA. They spoke with them last week, and so we're going to be coming together to do something on a big scale in LA to help women. And so I'm hoping that that will just go from that scale to a larger scale.
Yeah, we will definitely be praying for you
Thank you.
and the success. But for women who, especially Black women who want to start their own business, but don't know where to start, what would you tell them? One thing that they should do to at least just get started. What would you say?
The biggest thing is, because it's really sort of like a twofold. They have to have that vision, and it needs to be written down. It can't just be in their mind. They need to write out their plan, of where they see what it is that they want to do. But they also, and I always do this, they also have to do homework. They have to do their homework for what it is that they want to do. They need to do the research to see, you know, um, is what it is that they're wanting to do. What are the steps? If it's a formal business, I'm going to say if it's a nonprofit, if that's what they want to do, they need to know the ins and out about what is it a nonprofit. They got to do some work. It's not that you wake up and say, okay, I'm going to, go into business and I'm going to be a business owner. No matter who you talk to, no matter what business or entrepreneur person you speak to will tell you, it takes work. It is not just you get up and I'm going to be famous or I'm going to be, a millionaire or be a business owner. You have
Mhm.
to do the work that goes with it. Um, but you have to start with a written plan. And I'm a firm believer of that because then once it's on paper, it becomes more real, it becomes more tangible.
Okay. So we're coming to a close. So tell us how we can get in contact with you via your social media, your websites. Definitely tell us how to get your book, how to get the one that's already published, and how to pre-order the one that's coming out, because we definitely want to hear and learn from you. So tell us all of those details.
Great, thank you. Yes, you can follow me on social media at Coach Mimi Real Talk. I am on Instagram, Facebook at Coach Mimi Real Talk, and on TikTok, Coach Mimi Real Talk, as well as YouTube. So you can follow me on it as Coach Mimi Real Talk, but also on my websites, at CoachMimiRealTalk.com. But also, if you go to Mishaun Jackson, just one word.com, you can also see what's coming as well as pre-order and get my book that's currently out there.
Okay. Thank you again for taking some time to help enlighten other Black women who are looking to tread the path that you've already accomplished. We definitely love the wisdom. We definitely love the idea that there are others who are there for us, that see the path that we're trying to succeed in, and the fact that you are a shining example of following God's lead. We appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Okay. Well, Mishaun Jackson proves that resilience, purpose, and leadership can break even the most profound barriers. From corporate boardrooms to owning her businesses, she has dedicated herself to ensuring that women, especially women of color, have the tools, confidence, and strategies to rise in leadership and business. As she continues to expand Women of Wisdom Solutions LLC and House of Shaun LLC, her mission remains clear: helping women create pathways to success on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Mhm.